Welcome to this explainer. Right now, every single year, over 50 million tons of electronic waste and literally staggering mountains of textiles end up dumped in landfills worldwide. It's a massive problem. But if you look closely at the shifting tides of global commerce, there's a silent transition underway to change the whole shebang. Today, we're cutting through the noise. We're looking directly at the data to understand the real engine behind this massive global transition toward a circular economy.
Okay, let's challenge a completely outdated idea right out of the gate. Is the circular economy really just about saving the planet, or is it actually about securing global power? For a long time, circularity was viewed simply as a green initiative. And hey, doing what's right for the environment is absolutely crucial. But as we unpack the latest data and geopolitical analysis today, you're going to see that nations and massive industries are adopting circularity for a much more pragmatic reason: absolute economic stability and supply chain dominance.
Section 1. Beyond environmental policy.
To really grasp this paradigm shift, we have to start at the macro policy level with the European Union. The EU is fundamentally repositioning its entire approach. Circularity is actively shifting from a purely environmental policy into a hard-hitting industrial strategy. In the past, this stuff lived strictly in corporate sustainability departments. But today, as Seb explored in a recent deep dive analysis of the upcoming Circular Economy Act, it's a fundamental rewiring of how Europe views its economic competitiveness. Actually, the act isn't just about recycling targets anymore. It's about mandating the use of secondary raw materials in new products to totally insulate the European market from global supply shocks. It's about building a fortress, really, of resource independence.
Section 2. Global Circular Economy Roadmaps.
And Europe definitely isn't operating in a vacuum here. New global data reveals a rapid surge in national circular economy roadmaps. We aren't just talking about one or two progressive nations either. From Japan's advanced resource circulation strategies to Chile's really ambitious roadmap to eliminate waste, nations worldwide are actively drafting strategic blueprints. They're looking at this volatile landscape, resource scarcity, geopolitical tensions, and realizing they need their own national plans to stay competitive. It's essentially a global race to redefine how materials are managed, retained, and optimized completely within national borders.
But what happens when policy actually meets reality? So drafting these roadmaps is an excellent first step, for sure. But implementation? That is the true test right now. Think about the sheer logistical nightmare of reverse logistics. Figuring out how to efficiently collect, transport, and process millions of dead smartphones or used car parts, from consumers all the way back to manufacturers. It's like a giant puzzle. It's one thing to publish a brilliant strategic document. It is an entirely different reality to fundamentally change how your manufacturing, logistics, and waste sectors operate on a daily basis. Bridging that massive gap between policy theory and on-the-ground reality is the absolute primary hurdle right now.
Section 3. Securing critical mineral supplies. This brings us right into some seriously high-stakes hardware. According to recent insights from the World Economic Forum, securing resources for electric vehicle batteries has rapidly evolved from a standard manufacturing hurdle into a critical material security issue. As the entire world transitions to EVs, the demand for vital minerals like lithium, cobalt, and nickel is just skyrocketing past available mine supply. The WEF analysis shows that circularity, specifically recovering and processing these critical minerals from dead batteries to put into new ones, is suddenly a vital national security interest. You simply cannot build the green infrastructure of the future if you don't control the materials. Circularity ensures those rare materials stay locked right within your own domestic supply chain.
Section 4. Transforming the textiles industry. Now, you might be thinking this strategic shift is reserved only for high-tech murals and heavy industry, but it's not. It's also fundamentally changing everyday consumer sectors. Historically, the clothing sector has operated as one of the most painfully linear take, make, dispose parts of the global economy. To put that into perspective for a second, the equivalent of one garbage truck full of clothes is burned or dumped in a landfill every single second. Every second. Fast fashion has dominated for decades, resulting in massive, unsustainable material loss. But major UK industry coalitions are now recognizing that this heavily linear model is no longer just bad PR. It's a severe operational liability. To force this necessary transformation, the industry is pushing for extended producer responsibility, or EPR. This is a mandatory scheme that makes producers legally and financially responsible for the entire life cycle and post-consumer disposal of their products.
Just imagine the staggering impact of that shift. If a major clothing brand knows they will eventually have to pay for the recycling or disposal of a garment the very moment the consumer is done with it, well, their entire business model changes overnight. They are suddenly highly incentivized to design clothes that last longer, use materials that are incredibly easy to recycle, and just abandon that disposable fast fashion mindset completely. A real game changer.
Section 5. The new core strategy. When we zoom out and put these wildly different sectors side by side, the underlying unified strategy becomes incredibly clear. In the electric vehicle sector, the driving goal is absolute global materials security, centered around controlling those critical minerals. And in the consumer goods sector, like UK textiles, the goal is linear transformation, driven by extended producer responsibility schemes. The applications differ completely, sure, but the core engine, keeping materials actively in play to ensure long-term economic resilience, is exactly the same across the board.
From macro policy in Europe to critical supply chains for EVs to industry-led coalitions in retail, the overarching theme points to one undeniable truth. The circular economy is becoming central to global economic survival. It's officially moving off the sidelines of corporate social responsibility reports, where it is to just be seen as a nice bonus, and it's taking its rightful place right at the unshakable heart of global industrial strategy. So as circularity becomes the backbone of industrial power, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. If the circular economy is the new core of national security and economic strategy, how quickly can we actually adapt to this reality? The global roadmaps are already drawn, strict legislation is moving forward, and massive supply chains are actively shifting right under our feet. Will businesses and nations pivot in time to secure their futures, or will they be totally left behind in a new world where raw material security strictly dictates global power? Thank you so much for exploring these concepts with me, and definitely keep your eyes closely on how these incredible strategies continue to unfold.